So, no camera, no editor, no production crew, just me, some AI tools, and honestly, more trial and error than I'd like to admit. Let's actually walk through how these videos get made start to finish, including the parts that broke, because those are the parts that actually teach you something. Chapter 1, The Avatar. This whole thing starts in HeyGen. I trained a model off a batch of my own photos, not some stock avatar, an actual version of me. And I've built out 3 different looks depending on what I'm covering. Right now, I'm in what I call the workshop look. That's reserved for tutorials and explainer content like this one. News and analysis videos get a different setting. Heavier government or policy stuff gets a third. Here's the thing nobody tells you about AI avatars. The voice speed matters more than you'd think. I run mine at 1.2 times, fast enough to feel energetic, slow enough that it doesn't sound like I've had 6 coffees. And there's a calibration quirk I learned the hard way, more than once. Whatever runtime you're aiming for, write the script like it needs to be about 50% longer than that. I actually hit this exact problem making this exact video. I wrote a first draft, rendered it, and it came in at under 5 minutes when I needed something closer to 10. So the version you're watching right now is a second pass, written long on purpose because the math just doesn't work otherwise. And there's a credit cost to think about too. HeyGen has different avatar tiers. The higher quality ones cost real credits per minute, so I don't run the whole video on the expensive setting. I save that for one hero moment, usually the opening hook, and the rest runs on the standard tier. Nobody can tell the difference watching it, honestly, but it keeps this sustainable instead of burning through credits on every single video. Chapter 2, the actual editing, or more accurately, avoiding as much of it as possible. I render everything as one continuous take per scene, meaning I don't cut and restart every few lines, I just let it roll for the whole segment, and only start a new scene when I'm actually switching avatars or looks. Then I bring that into a tool called vidIQ to composite everything together. This is where I've made some of my most expensive mistakes. vidIQ's Compose tool has a hard 240-second cap per render. That's 4 minutes. And if you go over it, it doesn't gracefully trim your video down. It just fails outright. I learned this making an earlier video, lost real time redoing it, and now I chunk everything into pieces under that limit before I even start, every single time. Sourcing footage has its own landmine too, Google Drive. If a video file is large enough, Drive throws up a virus scan warning page instead of just giving you the file. And if a tool tries to pull that link automatically, it doesn't get your video, it gets a web page asking a human to click download anyway. I've hit this exact wall more times than I'd like to admit this week alone, chasing down why a piece of footage just wasn't showing up. Turned out half the time, it wasn't even a file type problem. It was a sharing permission set to restricted instead of anyone with the link. Small setting, huge difference. This is also where the visual layer happens. Pop-up text hitting key stats, real B-roll instead of generic stock footage whenever I can get it, and lately, actual sourced clips from the companies I'm covering. If Tesla posts footage of something happening at one of their factories, and I'm talking about that exact thing, I'll use a real clip of it, not a recreation, the real thing, briefly, under fair use, wrapped in my own analysis on top. I made 2 videos this week doing exactly that, pulling real company footage for a Tesla factory story, then real photos and clips for a piece comparing 4 different robotics companies. Neither of those would have hit the same way with stock footage standing in. One more thing I got wrong initially and had to fix: overlay timing. When you're syncing a pop-up graphic to a spoken line, it needs to land slightly after the line starts, not right on top of it. Otherwise, it feels like the graphics rushing ahead of what's actually being said. Took real feedback, more than once, before that timing felt natural instead of slightly off. Chapter 3, DaVinci Resolve, the final assembly. There's a build order I follow religiously at this point, because I found out the hard way that doing it out of order creates more work, not less. Main render goes down first. That's the whole HeyGen timeline. Then chapter cards. Then all the overlays and pop-up graphics. And B-roll goes in dead last, only after everything else is locked, because B-roll is supposed to be filling actual gaps in the video, not something I'm building around. If you place it first, you end up rebuilding your B-roll every time something else shifts. I'm also testing something brand new on this exact video, a feature called IntelliScript that's supposed to auto-generate a rough cut straight from a script. I've had this software for months and never actually used it. So if this video looks a little different structurally than my usual stuff, or if I mention it not going perfectly, now you know why. Worth testing on camera instead of just quietly trying it off to the side. And one thing I only just started doing, real sound design. For a while, every video just had one background music track running underneath everything, start to finish. That's fine, but it's not great. Now I'm layering in actual sound effects tied to specific moments. A soft transition sound when a chapter card appears. A subtle click when a pop-up text lands. A small riser building into the hook. None of it's loud or gimmicky. It's the difference between a video that feels intentional and one that just has music playing under it. Chapter 4. The tools doing the heavy lifting I don't always call out by name. The voice itself sometimes gets a pass through 11 Labs when I need something cleaner than the raw output. A separate tool from the avatar rendering itself, but they work well together. And the keyword research, the title scoring before I ever call a script ready, that's vidIQ again. Same tool, completely different job than the compositing I mentioned earlier. It's not that I'm sponsored to say any of this. I just genuinely run the same handful of tools over and over because they hold up. None of this is one magic platform that does everything. It's 4 or 5 separate tools, each one handling a specific piece, stitched together through a process I've refined mostly by breaking it and fixing it. That's really the honest version of how I make these videos. Not a clean pipeline I designed perfectly up front, but one I built by hitting walls and adjusting. One thing people ask constantly, and I never actually answer straight. What does a video like this cost to make? Not in some vague, it's affordable way, actual numbers. The avatar rendering runs on a credit system, and the higher quality tier costs meaningfully more per minute than the standard one, which is exactly why I only use it for 1 moment per video instead of the whole thing. The compositing tool runs on its own separate credit pool, and most of what I use beyond that is a monthly subscription, not a per video cost. So the honest answer is, it's not free, but it's nowhere close to what a camera, lighting, a mic setup, and actual editing software would run you a few years ago. The real cost isn't dollars, if I'm being fully honest. It's time. Every workflow mistake I've walked through in this video cost me an afternoon, not money. That's the actual trade you're making with a setup like this. Cheaper in cash, more expensive in trial and error, at least at the start. So that's it, start to finish. No camera, no editor, just a genuinely stubborn amount of trial and error, and tools that got good enough that one person can actually do this alone now. If you're thinking about building something like this yourself, the barrier's lower than you think. It's not about having the fanciest setup or getting everything right the first time. It's about actually finishing videos instead of endlessly tweaking the first one. Subscribe if you want to watch this thing grow in real time, mistakes included, because clearly there are plenty.